Hi, I'm Kirsten McLaughlin, Public Affairs Manager for Cox Communications, and this is Community Connection. Today we're here at Fairview Gardens with Paul Cronshaw, President of the Santa Barbara Beekeepers Association. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks for being here. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the beekeepers?
Well, I've been keeping bees for 40 years, and I was approached by Fairview Gardens a number of years ago to teach a beekeeping class. And so I taught a beekeeping class, and then we decided that we would start an association that has to deal with the education of people in our community about bees. And so that's where I am today. I'm helping people learn about bees.
So tell us, why are bees so important in our community?
Well, they're mainly because 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we eat is pollinated by an insect, mostly honeybees, and they're European honeybees. They were imported from Europe a long time ago. And so they are here to help us put food on our plate. And if we look around us right here in this strawberry field, I was noticing as we were setting up this today that there was a honeybee pollinating the flower for the strawberries that somebody's going to eat eventually on their plate. So bees are important because of one thing mainly is pollination, but also because they produce a sweet stuff called honey.
So what do members of your association do with bees?
What they do is they learn how to keep bees, first of all. A lot of them have a lifelong interest in wanting to learn about bees, and they keep them in their properties or on somebody else's properties, and they learn how to take care of these insects for a variety of reasons. People can keep bees because they want to help the environment. People also want to keep bees for honey. People want to keep bees because it's the in thing to do right now. Even the White House has a beehive, so people want to keep up with the White House.
Oh, wow. And how is the drought affecting bees in this area?
I have a saying. It goes, no water, no rain, no flowers, no nectar, no honey, very few bees. So we're having a problem with the drought affecting the bees because it's putting a strain on their environment because they can't collect the pollen and the nectar that would normally be present in a year that we had lots of rain. So this year, instead of getting lots of swarms, which are the way the bees reproduce, we've had less swarms and less bees, and plus the bees are really keeping things, we call it snug as a bug here. They really are staying what we call consolidated rather than building big colonies. So it's an interesting dilemma because we got lots of people who want to keep bees, yet there's not many bees around, and those that are really suffering a little bit because of the drought.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What can members of our community do to help bees?
There's a lot of things that people can do. One of the first things you can do is that, for example, this is an organic garden, is to support a local organic farm and buy produce that's pollinated by an insect. Another thing they can do is let your yard go and become weeds so that the bees then can have something to eat for their flowers, because a lot of times people mow them all down. A third thing you can do is to buy a local honey from a local beekeeper to support the beekeeper. Another thing you can do is to become a beekeeper yourself. Take a class, go online, learn about bees. And then another one you can do is get involved with the activities in the community that will allow you to become a beekeeper or support beekeeping. And then there's also a big one, avoid pesticides, because we think that maybe pesticides might have effect on bees at some point. And then also you can set up water stations because bees need water. So a little bird bath with some cork in it will help not only other critters, but also bees too. And we call it, including bees, we include pollinators, which are butterflies and hummingbirds and moths. So bees aren't the only creatures out there that do a lot of pollination.
So if members of our audience are interested in starting to keep bees, what would be the first steps?
First step to do is find out if you're allergic to bees.
That's a good one.
Which is a good thing, because you're going to, as we say, you're going to play with fire, you get stung and things like that. So that's the first thing I always recommend people do. Another thing to do is to also, you can go online and look at a lot of YouTubes. You can read books. And you can also take beekeeping classes, and we are teaching beekeeping classes in the community. And then the biggest thing to do is hang out with a beekeeper. Find somebody you can just put a veil on, go into a beehive, and stick your head into a beehive and see if you catch what we call bee fever.
Which I hear is how you got started.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your own bee journey.
Oh, my bee journey. Well, I was a senior at Santa Barbara High School back in the early 70s. Mr. Torres was my teacher, and he was an infamous biology teacher. He got me started in my career because he had not only a beehive in the back of his classroom, which had a plexiglass, but he also had a rabbit running his classroom. He had a turtle inside of a bathtub. And so I, instead of listening to him, I would look at the bees. And so that, I just got bee fever by doing that. And then there was a gentleman by the name of Len Schnellenberg who kept bees up in Santa Barbara, and they wrote an article on him. And so then I looked at the article, I looked at the bees in the box, and I go, I got to do this. Bee fever got me. So I didn't have anybody to talk to, didn't have any internet, no mentors. So I had to go find my own sources. So back then they had Sears catalog, had a farming catalog, and I bought my first set of beehives from there, built them, put them on the roof of our house where I was living. And then I had to find bees. Well, how do you find bees? So I ordered from Sears catalog. So this postman came up with this bee box out of his truck. He says, get these out of my truck. They've been buzzing me all day. Handed them to me, took the box, dumped it into the beehive, and then that was, ever since then, I have had bee fever, and now it's just been a wonderful journey, teaching people, saving bees, all that situation.
That's wonderful.
Which is great here too, yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Paul. This was fascinating.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, and I really appreciate being able to share my story about bees, and I just want to remind people, be well and be happy.
And thank you. Until next time, this is Community Connection.